Well, hello there, everybody. Mostly all three of you. Welcome to our Saturday morning chat. I'm Chuck Woodbury. I'm the publisher, editor, head everything of RVtravel.com in our 22nd year, making us one of the pioneers in the RV publishing online industry. Most of you today are coming from probably from the newsletter. Today's newsletter at RV Travel. And that's what we're going to talk about, the newsletter. We're going to talk about anything you want. We are sitting around a campfire and just pretend, no campfire. As you can tell, I'm nowhere near a campfire, but no smoke. And let's just talk about whatever RVers talk about when they talk around the campfire. We're going to be nice to each other because we're sitting here kind of in person. And we got some comments here already. Let's see, we got Erlen Paula. Hi, Chuck. Good morning. This is Eric from Graham, Washington. And Arlen, did I say, wait a minute, Arlen from, you are, I can write, but I can't say. Michigan. Sorry about that. Hang on, somebody's looking for me here. All right, well, I got Tony Barthel with me, but we'll bring him up in a minute. Dustin Simpson was supposed to be here from California RV Specialties, but he has got problems. He's down in Lodi, California. And Sugar Beet Harvest, Arlen. Anyway, he's got some technical problems. He's having you have a bad hair day. He's having a bad pixelation day. And so we decided not to have him on. But here's my buddy, Tony Barthel. And there's Roger M., Roger Marble, our tire expert. Anybody got any questions about tires? Roger's the guy. Of course, he has a column all the time in RV Travel. And I think once a week or more than that, actually. Roger's been writing for us for, oh my goodness, Roger, it must be 15 years now. Tony does our RV reviews, and we just announced today he's cutting back a little bit, which is sad for all of us, but we'll have to make up for him some other way. He's got his website, stresslesscamping.com. And if you've never been to Stressless Camping, then you should go there. That's what it looks like. And Tony's got all kinds of articles. And if he wasn't such a nice guy, I'd say he's competition, but he's too nice a guy to be a competitor. And so I welcome your questions. First of all, would you please introduce yourself as you come on and see what you got right there. I'm playing around with all these little buttons and stuff here. And I don't always know what I'm doing, but so comments here. Let's see. Troy Harris from Gresham, Oregon. I've been there. Tired. Eric wants, he sees Roger on here. He says he uses tire covers, but wondering if he should use a tire dressing first. Well, Roger, you can, whoops, here we go. Let me get rid of, I got all these buttons here. I don't know what. Tony, tell us a little about yourself and your background.
Well, I've been a fan of RVing for quite a long time. As you know, I was a subscriber of yours to Out West. So we've sort of known each other for many, many years. And I just really enjoy RVing and the RV lifestyle. And I think I wouldn't call myself competition at all. I think the cornerstone thing on Stressless Camping is a podcast. And we do feature an RV of the week that we tell people to come to RV Travel and read more about. So that's a little about me. My wife not only has been RVing for a long time, she was conceived in a campground.
Oh my goodness.
There
Oh my goodness. That's
you go.
she's really got the DNA that's
Yeah, she's
double
a
whammy there, huh?
camper from before she was a person, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. Where was
So
the
very,
campground?
and there's been one of the things I've noticed is, these RV companies are really starting to embrace overlanding or
Oh,
sort of super off-grid camping, as evidenced by some of the new RVs we've looked at over at RV Travel. Um, for example, Lance and Palomino both introduced pretty high-end overlanding campers. The one from Palomino being $140,000 list price or MSRP. So, but it's truly game changing. A complete departure of not only from Palomino, but also from how RVs are built in many ways. So
here's
interesting stuff.
we'll double topic here, Roger.
Yeah.
We don't want to get into too much detail here on off the subject or technical stuff. We have a Wednesday show at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and that's all about technical stuff. So please, we'll always have that in the Wednesday edition of RV Daily Tips. Um, so what was it, the $140,000 RV? What's that? That's
Well,
like a little teardrop thing or what?
oh, it's significant. It's a 20-foot box travel trailer. And some of the interesting things, there is not one lick of wood. The cabinets are all aluminum that are powder coated.
Mm-hmm.
The suspension is an air suspension that you can actually
Mm.
raise this thing and get 25 inches of ground clearance, but then you
Oh,
can lower it when you're towing it on the highway for a little better aerodynamics. Um, it it's the walls are a product called Transcore, which is a company in Ohio that makes it. But the interior, most RVs interior walls, you have those sections, those panels, and there's seam tape between the panels, which always
mm.
comes off. Well,
Yeah.
this thing, they use a 3D printer to create the interior walls. So it's a lot of very significant new ways of thinking about things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Hey, Mike
Yeah.
Sokol's watching. I hope you're
Oh,
doing good, Mike. Mike is definitely the North American expert on RV electricity, and if not the world. And we are so happy that Mike's been a part of RV travel for, boy, at least as long as Roger. So I don't know, Mike, a dozen years easy. And he's become semi-famous now, so we don't see him as much. He's too busy with all his other stuff, but he still does a column. He still writes for us a couple of days a week, and I know Mike has saved some lives, and some of the stuff he's written about hot conditions. Where you can actually get a shock from touching an RV under certain conditions. It has to do with the electrical hookup, electricity. I'm an idiot about this stuff, so Mike knows more. But basically, if you ever touch an RV when you're standing outside and you feel a little tingle or something, you got a big problem. Don't touch it again. Go to the campground, get moved to another site. But Mike is always stuff like that has been invaluable
so
to our
Mike and
readers.
I have been talking about battery performance, and he figured out that a single 20-pound propane tank has the equivalent energy of 7 tons of lead acid batteries.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Hey, Mike, if you want to come on, I'll invite you and you can join us in the studio. Dustin was supposed to be here. Just leave a comment and say, do you want to join us? And I'll invite you and you can get your cup of coffee and come on up here. We're just sitting around the old campfire here. Tony and me and 24 other people.
With 7 tons of lead acid batteries.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he didn't respond. Maybe he's gone. Oh, there's Dave Solberg. Oh boy. Now we got the whole gang here. Dave is well, unfortunately, Dave, you had your RV handbook was published by Trailer Life, right?
Correct.
And they quit publishing all their books there about the time we gave up RV Bookstore. And that book, the RV handbook, it's still available on Amazon. And if you haven't got a copy, get it, put it in your RV, and it will definitely come in handy as a reference. And I think they're still on there, Dave. There were so many of them sold. Yeah. So Dave writes almost every day in RV travel, answers questions. If you've got a simple question for him, you can ask it. But if it's complicated, well, you can ask him anyway. And if you want to talk about my story today in RV travel about the guy who complained that we were always negative, that we were bashing the RV industry. Well, judging by the comments, I'd say there's been about 60 comments so far. Most of you agreed that we did run other stuff. And as I told this guy, we have run 18,000 stories on RV travel through the year, 18,000. And he told me we needed to run stories like the difference between 30 amp and 50 amp. How many times have we run that story? You know, people say we don't run certain stories, but how many of them read all 18,000 articles? You know, it's pretty hard to do. Hey, Mike. Oh, there's Mike. I still got him up on there's all these buttons to push here on this. You know, I have to keep memorizing because as an older person, my knowing which button to push sometimes is very challenging. You know, when I was 20, I'd be a good button pusher.
Well, but sometimes I've been accused that I'm very good at pushing my wife's buttons.
Well,
exactly.
No, I can't imagine that, Tony. You're too congenial of a person. But hey, Dave's at home. I've never seen you outside at Corn Belt.
Outside my little workshop.
Yeah,
in the basement.
Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. So, anybody got any questions out there? Desert Rat. Ronald Walker. That's over by the coast.
Troy Harris said they bought a trailer in 2008, worked tent campers, and have never regretted. What did you get, Troy?
A very small percentage of our audience is tent campers. We only have 17 people in here. I'm very surprised. I just wondered, those of you out there is to do this. I mean, it's 1 o'clock in the east.
Most of the people are still reading the comments from your article.
Yeah, that must be it.
I read all 88 of them.
Dave?
Yep, you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh. You, Tony?
Pardon me?
Was I cutting out?
Yeah. All of a sudden now your internet has become sketchy. Outdoors RV, I see Troy's answer. Those are fantastic. Hopefully your experience is as good as what I perceive them to be. That company really makes good stuff. So one of the few that actually builds their own frames.
Hey, I see Mike Sokol's on here. Could we ask him, is the difference between 30 amp and 50 amp 20 amps?
I even know that one. I don't know if Mike's still there because I invited him to come on, but I haven't heard from him.
Well, he said I'm available if you like.
With the link. Oh.
What?
I sent him a text message with the link.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I believe he's around. He said he's available.
Oh, good. All right, I'm trying to get this comment out of here.
I bet he's all charged up about joining us.
Yeah, we'll find out pretty soon. Yeah, he's probably
I'll
got to
be the
get down and
puns of the thing.
He's a sort of mad scientist kind of studio there.
Oh, good. Troy said was a great experience.
What's that?
His outdoors RV. Now he upgraded to a fifth wheel and he's planning to travel more and further from home. So yeah, outdoors RV makes good stuff. That whole Northwoods manufacturing operation in the Pacific Northwest does a good job. I would have no hesitation about recommending those.
Oh, very smart, intelligent, good builders of things up here.
Websites, RVs. Here we
Mike
go.
was there, then he disappeared.
No, I'm here.
Hey, he's got Dennis's chair from Progressive Dynamics, the squeaky one.
I have the squeaky chair, but I'm here. Let me turn on more backlighting here. There we go.
How you feeling, Mike?
Oh, I'm doing a little better. I'm still fighting bronchitis after like 5 or 6 weeks after COVID. And but other than that, I'm feeling okay. It's just I go to these huge coughing fits.
Oh yeah, God, those aren't fun, are they? Huh?
No, they're terribly unfun. But I'm hanging in there. So I didn't have anything to do for almost all summer, and then in September I had to go in 3 places in 3 weeks. Between the Hershey show and the Detroit auto show, and then the RV open house there in Elkhart. I was dragging butt, man. And I'm like, oh, I don't want all this to happen, but I got to do all of these. I got to cover all of these things. So a lot of fun.
I bet you were. You must have been, and that must have been tough. That's not good wearing you down like that either.
No, I mean, and I would go for like an hour or so, and then I'd have to go lay down. I said, I've just got to go someplace to lay down for a bit. So I wasn't up to not firing on all cylinders, but I learned a lot of stuff and made new friends, and I think that's good.
Yeah.
I am so jealous. You went to all the places I wanted to be, but I didn't get COVID or bronchitis. So.
You didn't get COVID or bronchitis. You didn't get to ride the lightning like I did, though, did you? Did you?
No, that's true. Nor see the Airstream E-Stream.
In the flesh.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's happening right now.
And what is the E-Stream?
So the E-Stream is Airstream's new version of a self-propelled trailer. And so it basically has like 75 kilowatt hours of batteries in it and motor generators in the wheels. So it will actually push itself down the road behind your car, behind your EV or whatever, and hopefully prevent the huge loss of range that you get. But one of the
objective, the objective is to overcome the losses that RVs represent for any vehicle, but EVs in particular, right? I mean,
exactly. It could be any vehicle, but you don't notice it so much when, let's say, you're driving a gasoline or diesel powered truck. I'm used to like throwing away half of my mileage. So I had a GMC pickup truck a few years ago. I was used to getting, when I put like a 14-foot box trailer behind it, my mileage was dropping to 7.5 miles per gallon or 8 miles per gallon. And even though it bugged you, but you could go to a gas station and fill the thing up, in 5 or 10 minutes, whereas electric vehicles don't have that quick charging option. And so this is what makes everybody crazy. So what they've done, now they've not been able, I've not seen this on an actual bona fide road trip yet at this point, but it does this one thing which everybody's going to love. It lets you drive the thing around basically with a little joystick app on your phone to park it in a campground. Now imagine that. No more backing up craziness. where everybody's I've heard some pretty foul language out of what I would consider to be beautiful couples that are yelling at each other while they're backing up. And backing up can be pretty darn bad. It can be. But the key, of course, is that, this thing's got, it's got motors in it. And, now it's not going to go, you can't drive it around at 60 or 70 miles an hour with the joystick. So forget about that. But 1 or 2 miles an hour, it works. And this is the same thing that I saw that Safari Condo Alto last year do. That little pop-up thing. It did the same thing. So it had big like drive things that clamped down on the wheels, and you could drive it around. And my kids just thought that's the best, Dad. And it really is a really cool thing, because one of my buddies at camps a lot, he said, one of the biggest things is he wants to get into his campsite and he wants to spin his thing 90 degrees. Well, guess what? You just put this thing into, the mode, and it'll just actually rotate on its own axis like a zero-turn mower.
Yeah.
Remember that Lippert is working now. That technology is licensed from a German company, whereas Lippert is working on their own variant of that.
Right.
That theoretically doesn't exist.
I can't speak about any of this. You know that.
Right. No, but I can. I was at the facility where they stored it, and I said, may I walk through that door? And they said, there's nothing on the other side of that door. Just forget about it. Not quite like that, but that was essentially the message. So.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff happening. And, this, of course, much of this also should have cross-pollination into the gas world or non-powered world too, because I've been in discussion with manufacturers about making your RV slipperier on the outside, so better aerodynamics, which is good for everybody, because nobody wants to pay those huge nasty prices for gasoline or diesel. With a conventional vehicle, you put up and you just shut up and do it. Well, maybe you don't shut up, but you do it. But slipperier vehicles, I think, are a good thing. Good for your pocketbook and everything.
One of the hallmarks of that eStream, that Airstream product, is that the entire roof is smooth.
Right.
So there's no air conditioner, there's no vents, there's nothing up there. And that's a component of that thing being more aerodynamically friendly.
Yeah, no, Tony's absolutely right. That you take something smooth, and and an Airstream is built like an airplane, and then you go slap a couple of rooftop air conditioners on it and hang a bike rack or two on the front, and guess what? You have turned this into a less than aerodynamic shape.
Yeah. That's the, everyone always asks, what mileage do you get when you're towing?
Right.
And whether it was, I towed the same trailer with both a Nissan Frontier and then a Ram 1500, which arguably are very different and should have had very different mileage figures. But when I hooked a trailer, it was 11 miles to a gallon. So.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And it just hurts. I mean, I had... I still remember one of my readers years ago, he was complaining about his big Class A diesel pusher was getting 5 miles per gallon. And he was complaining about that. And then he said, well, he fixed it. And I said, well, what did you do? And he says, well, I put in a 300-gallon auxiliary tank or whatever. So, and I said, so now it's $1,000 to fill it up. And he says, yeah, but I can drive, however many, 300, 500 miles or whatever the heck it was, without having to fill up again. And that was part of to him, that's what the whole thing was all about. It was not having to pull over and go gas up or fuel up. And that. So everybody has their own things that's important to them.
I'm wondering at 5 miles per gallon if he was doing 80.
Speed, I got to tell you. So one of the things that I had experimented with last year, just using a little ID4, a little Volkswagen electric vehicle to tow that Safari Alto, was at, I was towing at 55, 60, 65, and 70 miles per hour. And when I was at 55 miles per hour, People were passing me on the right shoulder. They were blowing their horns at me. I mean, this was a road that was a 65-mile-an-hour highway with a 55 minimum, and a thing that said, 45 miles an hour minimum. I thought I was going to die. I gave up after 10 miles.
I understand California, and I'm sure there's other places, but I know specifically in California where the speed limit, if you're towing, is 55, which nobody pays attention to.
No. Yeah, they say every U-Haul trailer that you rent has got a little sticker written backwards right on the
wheel housing
thing, and it says 55 mile an hour max, and I just scoff. We scoff at that.
Right. As you know, I just crossed half the country in a U-Haul truck
at 55 miles an hour.
No, I was going a little faster, and somehow the check engine light kept coming on.
So now here's an interesting piece of intel for you that it will impact drivers. The DOT has just released a study or a proposal the other day that they are going to introduce governing speed limits on all vehicles.
Oh,
all vehicles?
So, all vehicles. All vehicles, because they say all vehicles know how, all the new ones, they know how fast you're going from the GPS. And if it's 65, they're going to limit you to 65 or 55 or 30. They're going to limit you to those speeds. And there's supposed to be a little button that you can push that will give you a 15-second workaround if you need to pass somebody. But I'm just telling you.
15 seconds when you need 16 seconds? That doesn't sound
hey,
good.
man, listen, guys, I stay out of the politics of this stuff, right? All I do is I report the news. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you, I saw that, my jaw dropped. And my wife went, "What the heck?" And I went, I'm not saying this is a good thing. I'm just saying this is a proposal.
That'll go over like the 55 speed limit, the national speed limit. So we need to get Sammy Hagar back on the job and write
That's right.
Song.
Or the proverbial Led Zeppelin, that.
Sammy just turned 75 this week.
Wow. Is that how fast he's driving now?
That's a new song. I can't drive 75.
Oh, very good. So yeah, that's all. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that are happening. And some of these are electrically related, but most of these, I've discovered that I'm not just an electrical writer now. I'm a lifestyle guy, because lifestyle is dependent upon the amount of available electricity, whether you can, boondock, or where you can camp, or the power requirements, or all those other things. Because I've had guys say, we don't care about the details. How long can I camp out in the desert? And I'm going, well, you better figure out those details. But
interestingly, I had talked earlier before you joined us, Mike, about that new Palomino Pause. It comes with, as standard, 700 watts of solar and 400 amp hours of battery. You can add a second 400, and it'll support 600 watts of solar on the side. 200 watts of solar.
And see, and as you well know, I have a prototype of the very first Rockwood GeoPro with it's 570 watts. I got to bump it up a little bit. This is close enough to 600 watts and a 400 amp hour battery. Those are the kind of levels that you want to get to, and you can just set it out there and you can just camp for days. And I know you've done the same thing. You don't have to worry about it very much. And I think it's an amazing thing. So, okay. So Tony, let's see if you actually, how good you were. So it's 14,000 pounds, 7 tons, 14,000 pounds of flooded lead acid batteries equals 1 20-pound tank of propane. So what does that mean in terms of numbers of batteries in both lead acid and in lithium?
Well, I think
if you did your homework,
about it's 100 amp hour lithium batteries, right?
Correct. Yes.
So that would mean it'd be 200 typical lead acid batteries.
Exactly right. And
Oh.
so and I did a little quick napkin arithmetic. And so that's about 3,000 pounds worth of lithium batteries and 14,000 pounds worth of lead acid batteries. They're obviously not practical, but it just goes to show, people don't quite understand just how much energy you have in a tank of propane.
No, it's impressive. So you think of how you can carry that thing around. Try carrying around 100 amp hours of lithium batteries.
Right, but but the fun thing is when Tony and I were talking about this, and he casually mentioned it, I was sitting there doing mental arithmetic on all this, and I said, I'm thinking it's around 100 batteries. That's what I'm guessing. I was only off by one. How you like that? So that's pretty good, I thought. But
see, I can't count past 21. So I can't count past 20 without taking off my shoes.
Well, there you go. Or it depends on how many extra toes you have. Right. But you could just see that one of the things that I like to be able to discuss with people is about what these energy things mean, because people start bandying about terms. That's a 150 kilowatt charger. They really don't know what this means. And one of the things that I found really interesting, even at the auto show, because I was talking to a number of the guys, they had no idea how much it would cost to charge an electric vehicle at home versus, on a fast charger. And none of them seemed to be aware that, at least I found at least several power companies, my own being, which is First Energy, Potomac Edison, they're offering it soon. If you have them put in a separate meter, you can in fact charge your EV, whatever it is, overnight at 50% of the rate of your normal electric charge. So it would cost me 8 cents per kilowatt hour rather than like 15 or 16 cents. None of these guys seem to be aware of it. I think that the automobile manufacturers are doing a poor job of like communicating all the bits and pieces of this. And all they're doing is selling the acceleration. And the acceleration certainly is exciting for an old motorhead like me. Yeah, but I think there's a lot more things to consider.
It's amazing, like when you get into, any EV, but particularly the Tesla S, and just stomp on it, and especially a Tesla S Plaid. I've driven some fast cars, and that's a giant four-door sedan.
Yeah,
and it just throws you back against it. It's amazing and dead silent, and it's a great experience. So
and I think again, so what you got to look at is in terms of who they're selling to in terms of these tow vehicles. These things, these trucks and stuff, they're loaded up with every doodad you could possibly imagine inside. Like I said, be worried about performance, but I still love that F-150 Power Boost that I had last summer for a couple of weeks that had a 7.2 kilowatt generator built into it, an inverter generator. That thing was awesome.
Do you see the new F-250 also has a 110 plug in the bed? I don't remember the specs on it, but and the new Ram 2500, which is on my short shopping list, also is available with a 20 amp plug in the bed.
They're all starting to talk about this. The thing that I just wrote about today is the Silverado. So the Chevy Silverado, GMC Chevy, I forget, whoever them, the Silverado thing, in full trim mode is supposed to have like 10 electrical outlets around this thing. This is a pure EV. I think it's kind of silly to waste all your charging power on outlets, but they're saying for like campers and contractors and whatnot. But yet they won't do a test on what it actually takes to pull an RV.
No, because
wait a minute, Mike. They have 10. They have 10 plugs to plug into.
Yeah, 10.
Why?
Well, 10 is more than 9.
I get, but still, I mean.
Oh no! Believe me,
this doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. Now this is $100. You pay $105,000 plus dealer prep and destination charges. $105 for this.
Wow.
They had one of these one of these trucks at the show last week, but it was off limits. So you sit out in the middle, and they were, they had all the glistening lights on it and everything. You could kind of walk up and peek around in it, but they weren't releasing information yet. So just a couple of days ago, apparently they did release all the info. There's going to be like a kind of what they call a contractor's version of it available out in first quarter of 2023. I think it's like list is like 39,900, but then the full trim mode that they're all excited about is 105,000. So again, these are electrics. Heck if I know. I don't know. What do I know? I just know how they work.
Hey, Mike, this is probably really stupid, but that's my specialty on technical things. But how do you charge those things when you're pulling a trailer and you're going down the road and all those things are just pulling straight? Or a fifth wheel, for example, or well, I guess that you can back those up. I forget, but I was thinking of my motorhome with a car in the back. But that's
if you're doing if you're doing a trailer, they know exactly how fast you're going. They know when you're stopped. You can back them up. One of the advantages of that, as well as electric tows, would be that it can do regenerative braking. That is, they can think of it like an exhaust brake. You guys all know how an exhaust brake works, right? Yeah. You let off the gas or whatever, your big thing, and it starts slowing you down without actually using your friction brakes. So these trailers then go into regenerative mode, and they can recover up to about 80% of the electricity that they were using while climbing, a mountain, to put it back into the batteries. And what I've been railing about to these guys is that none of them have a small sedan, an EV sedan, that could be towed 4 wheels down. Because if they did, and you could tie into, they're fly by wire for steering, for braking and everything. So if you could tie that into your motorhome or whatever, your tow vehicle in front of you, they could do regenerative braking, thinking you're going down the grapevine, wherever you're going. And the thing is constantly, it's charging your little sedan, your Toad, up behind you. When you get to a campground, your Toad would always be 100% full and ready to go with maybe a couple 300-mile range. To me, that would be a really big advantage compared to pulling in and say, now I've got to charge up whatever.
Yeah. Look at this comment there.
To that comment, I think that dealer was misinforming you, because I know those batteries in most of the EVs are so well controlled with software and cooling and heating and other aspects. I know personally several people with well over 100,000 miles on a Tesla. Yeah. And it was the complaint with the Prius too, right? And that those batteries, they're not going to last. And those have been some of the most reliable and good long-term vehicles, partially because Toyota knew that if they screwed the pooch, nobody would buy it, and people are buying them and getting great experience with them. So I think you are, Desert Rat, I think you may be talking to a dealer who is, let's just say, bring your big boots next time.
Yeah, the real issue that I find in so much of this is that someone will take a political position, and then they will mine the data that follows whatever position they want to, talk about.
Yeah.
And so everybody says, they're going to be throwing them away and nobody's recycling them. I guarantee you they're going to recycle every single one of those batteries. They're just way too expensive not to. One of the complaints that I heard from one of my Tesla groups was that Tesla is actively trying to buy back the batteries that are being, to be reclaimed as a core charge, right? And people are keeping them, sticking them in their houses and turning them into house solar panel charging systems. Because a Tesla battery that's half dead is still a fantastic battery for home power.
And they're doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I know guys that are doing it. I can do it.
There are a number of people also taking wrecked, totaled Teslas and using that technology to make some quite unusual, what they call resto mods, classic cars that have, they have the classic look, but modern mechanical. More than a few guys who have taken wrecked Teslas and made some. There's a 55 Chevy that'll just blow the doors off almost anything out there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So no, I think that part is just people are just, they don't want to even listen to any of the data. I'm just a data guy. I just, I want to do testing. I want to go do the numbers. I tell everybody, if you want to come to a fight with me on this, bring your slide rule, bring your physics book. I don't believe any of this stuff. And in my own things that I write, if somebody talks about something, I'm saying, tell me where you saw this. I go into college professor mode, which I am, and I'm going, you have to show your work. You have to show, any of your sources. Show me your sources, or set up a test yourself, and show me how you did it. I want to know if somebody if they want to come up with an idea, then you got to back it up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that EVs have become more of a political football rather than just something different, right? I mean, so
and that's absolutely true. I try, like I said, I try really, really hard just to be a completely disinterested scientist in this kind of thing. I just want to know how this is working and with the possibility of working. And Tony and I are both computer guys going back for decades. And I tell everybody, think of Moore's law, where things were doubling every year. And I still remember in the 70s, I was installing office computers. We were running off of 2 floppy drives, no hard drives, 2 floppy drives is what all we remember. Floppy drives, them things. And my twin brother Joe, who just retired as a senior programmer out at Apple, he was he wrote all the drive stuff for the hard drives and solid state drives. And he told me, as I was starting to install 7 megabyte drives, 7 megs, and he told me, he says, someday soon drives are going to be hundreds of megabytes will fit in your pocket. And I just finished installing a Winchester 3030 drive that was 30 megabytes that weighed 100 pounds and took 20 amps from the line to run. And I said, Joe, you're crazy. He goes, no. I see this. He says, I'm doing this. He says, I'm developing drivers to make all of these things work. He was absolutely right.
These are the devices that fit into the cameras around our house. 64 gigabytes.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's my
64 gigabytes.
My fingernail is
yeah.
And see, to people like Tony and me, if we start bandying about kilobytes or megabytes or gigabytes or terabytes, we know what's going on. The average person, that's just a word. But to us, we're giggling like schoolgirls because I'm going, this right here, this would normally be houses full of drives. More power than a small city would have taken to do that little thing right now that you can put in your drone.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about mechanical failures or magnets. You can erase spinning media with a good magnet.
Right.
The first video storage device I bought was an 18 gigabyte Rourke drive for $4,000.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the next year I bought a
CD
second
burners.
one for $2,000.
Yeah.
Now I can do it on that little card you got, Tony.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
I had a CD burner, and when the CD blanks cost $60 a piece, $60 a piece for a CDR, recordable CD.
Oh
and if I remember correctly, my recorder, just the drive was like $3,000 or $4,000, just to be able to burn one CD, and to burn a DVD was $1,000 a pop, just to make one DVD. So we forget technology is driven by what people want. If enough people want a vehicle with certain that they can boondock forever, and then it'll happen.
Yeah.
So back to the RV topic.
Yeah.
Well, but I swung it back to the RV. Don't you like how
I do. But I was at an event recently with some other here at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta. And one of the interesting things is the RV industry, many of the manufacturers reaching out to, I wonder if I should say this. Well, I'm going to.
Say it.
Harvest hosts indicated that a lot of the manufacturers are reaching out because they are concerned about overcrowded campgrounds too. And the manufacturers are asking, well, how can we promote boondocking and all of that? And you see all that back to the subject of solar and such. You see that in what is coming out. I mean, now every Keystone comes with 200 watts of solar. These RV companies are scared about the overcrowded campgrounds.
right? And I see so many people that are just slapping anything on their pre-existing RVs without really thinking about it. But virtually every RV manufacturer that I visited at the open house a couple of weeks ago was either in process or had fully implemented boondocking packages.
Yeah.
You know, like 200 amps minimum, some of them 400, 800, 1200. Yeah, I mean, it was just like crazy amounts, like a Class B, van, RV van that had a extra alternator in there, and they had 1200 amp hours of battery. 1200 amp hours.
Yeah, so I know how to upgrade an RV with a good solar package on it for no cost.
How's that, Tony?
Nobody's going to bite. You
We're
wait
gonna
in line at a construction site and have some idiot plow into the back of you at 40 miles an hour. And then they tow away your old RV and you get a replacement for it with more solar and more battery.
You're not really recommending that, are you?
No, I'm that's what happened to us is they did tow our mini light away. That was a prototype with the power package.
Yeah,
and
power package. I mean, that's the thing. What I really liked about messing around and experimenting with the power package over the last year, it shows me what a well-balanced design, how well it works, and you're not even really truly aware of what it does. It's pretty
so cool. As you know that package. Well, the new one that now they're building for us has 1,000 watts of solar.
Right.
But it's so well thought through. So let's say you are, and we actually did this. We were camped at my wife's sister's house, and all they offered was a 20 amp plug.
Right.
Well, we wanted to run the air conditioner and all of that. And that system will use that 20 amps. Well, it was actually less than that. So I could dial it down and it would pull from the wall and the rest it would supplement with the battery.
Yeah.
And at night, it just replenishes the battery or using the solar and all of it.
Right.
It's really interesting. Okay, I'm going to address something that Keith Mann wrote. You don't want 21, 22 quality. There is such a huge difference from one RV manufacturer to the next. And some of them really did not change how they do things. And some of them rushed stuff into production that I really wouldn't want. And I think more than ever now, the difference in quality between brands is really significant. So to address that, that's a common complaint I hear, that the new RVs are built like crap. And I can show you a bunch that are and a few that are not. And so that's something
Tony,
I tried to share in my daily.
I think it even transcends within a company. You've got you've got some of these companies that have 15 different models, and there's they're starting with the lowest price point, and people are buying that because it's got all these decals and Corian, and they're getting a $40,000 fifth wheel, and they think they're driving around $100,000 fifth wheel, and then the quality is like, oh. So even within the company, there's a wide range.
Yeah, it's the manufacturers, Thor and Forest River particularly, absolutely encourage their brands to compete with one another and give awards to those brands for quality and customer experience and all of that. So to say a Forest River product or a Thor product are lousy, not all of them. I mean, an Airstream experience is going to be much different than something like an MPG, for example, or a Rockwood experience is probably very different from a Cherokee. So
yep.
I don't like blanket statements because I can show you examples on both sides of that.
Yeah. Well, and we had this discussion on Wednesday night, where I don't know that personally, I don't know quality is any worse today than it was 15, 20, and I brought up the fact that 1988, I took a unit out to train dealers and it fell apart. And that 89 model year, and about everybody, they used Mindy board, which delaminated like crazy. They had the new compartment doors that all bulged out and went all, and things just fell apart. But the problem is the difference is last year we had 600,000 units sold. Back then we had half of that or less, and we didn't have the internet and the forums to tell anybody.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think the percentages are any higher. It's just that the numbers are exploded.
We had a 1970 Aristocrat that I was taking apart and restoring, and the quality of that thing was terrible. I mean, it was flimsy boards and sticker board walls and all of that. The reason it had survived 50 years is sheer luck. It wasn't that it was such a great, well-made trailer. It was just a lousy trailer that someone had taken care of.
Yeah.
So the one thing you can't argue with is, oh my gosh, RVs are expensive now. The price increases over the past 2 years have been astounding, would be inadequate. Now that I can't argue with.
Well, they've mirrored the truck industry too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My wife and I are shopping for a new 3/4 ton truck, and yeah.
Yeah, so. I saw at the last show I went to, it had the price of the truck plus a $30,000 dealer markup.
Oh yeah.
And it's already got a dealer markup. But there was a dealer incentive on, I think they called it, dealer incentive. And it's like,
yeah,
what? It's already in there.
Did you see that the head of Ford basically cheesed off all the dealers saying, we're not sure dealers provide value anymore. And it's true. What does a car dealer do for you?
Yeah.
Other than rip you off. Now we're going to make the car dealers mad.
All right.
So let me ask you guys, since I've just started to look at this a little deeper, is this the death of diesel here in since last year of all of this shutdown stuff and DEF fluid and everything? I'm seeing more and more gasoline powered, and I see people just refusing to get into a diesel vehicle because of all of this crazy stuff that happened with, I guess, what was it, the Rams, I guess, mostly, right? They went into limp home mode, and some of them, it's taken months, a year?
The Cummins engines, which are one of the only ones left, but I have friends who are in high-end government jobs, and they frankly want to kill off diesel engines, and they're doing it. I mean, look at, for example, Ford and that 7.2 liter Godzilla engine, that big V8. It's the old Ford 460 back again with fuel injection.
Yeah.
So that you see the trends from the automakers. They all have really large gasoline engines because the government has legislated so much junk on diesels that they're not the long-term reliable, built forever engines that they used to be. It's all that. Of course, there's a lot of people who take that stuff off, and then they are good engines again.
Oh yeah, but it's not only illegal, but it also will follow you. If you sell something like that that's had that stuff deleted, they can come back on you personally.
Oh, well, look at that dude, I think in Ohio, that it was such a fight with the government, he just finally crushed the truck.
Yeah, it would have taken him more money to restore it back to emission standards than he could possibly have gotten out of it. Yeah, he did. He crunched it. He just put it
so
through demo.
What you do is you get a modern chassis, and then you get a vintage body and put the vintage body on the modern chassis, take off all the emission stuff, and now you have a modern vehicle that actually looks cool and doesn't have any emissions requirements.
Well, we shall see. And electrics don't have any emissions, but everybody complains about, you got to burn oil or coal or whatever to make that. But I'm actually starting to study, those modular nuclear reactors that you can bring in on a truck and basically park in the backyard. And I think that these small ones are 300 megawatts. And to me, it's a fascinating technology, especially since some of the designs only have to be refueled every 10 to 20 years.
Yeah,
so it's neat.
Gotten them safe. They're plenty safe, and we figured out what to do with nuclear waste now.
But of course, again, I am not a tree hugger by any stretch of the imagination, but I am a child of, and I remember 3 Mile Island.
Yes,
and of course, that was very close to me. Harrisburg. I'm just down in Maryland, so I worry about stuff like that. But this is basically the technology that they've been using on nuclear-powered battleships and submarines for decades, and I feel more comfortable about something that was built in a factory, that was tested, delivered to a site, and dropped into a proper containment shell. But again, I don't know. The guys out at Lawrence Livermore National Labs, and I've taught safety classes for them, believe it or not. Those dudes out in California, where they've got like 8,000 scientists, they've invited me to come out and see their great big fusion reactor thing. It's got like, was it 300 and something? Well, how many laser beams that all hits that little deuterium pellet the size of a pea to try to make sustainable fusion? They've invited me to come out and see this and maybe even launch it once for a test, which is like the biggest boom that you can have short of a supernova.
That would be fun.
Wouldn't that just be crazy?
Watch out, Mike. Don't blow yourself away.
But if I get to go, guess what? I'm doing it, man. I'm doing it.
Oh yeah,
you're going.
Mike comes back and his lights are turned off, but we can still see him.
exactly right. Because they're going, would you like something? We could, if you came out a day early, we could set this up. That you could actually come out and tour some of the tests that we're doing. I'm going, really? Tour the tests? Can I do the large ignition facility? Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff.
Let me put a plug in real fast. It's almost an hour. We'll spend a few more minutes if you want, but RV Travel readers. But remember, Mike's articles, Tony's, Dave's are all part of RV Travel. So if you're a travel reader, that's where you go to sign up for the newsletter. It's not the newsletter you get, just a reminder notice that there's a new issue. So, and if you really want to be a nice person, we're supported by readers' donations. Make one donation for $5 or make it $5 a month, whatever it all helps. It allows us to not have to rely on advertising and then always worry about pleasing advertisers, which means writing what they want and not what's necessarily the truth. So all that said, I will say this one thing. I was NCAA, University of Washington, and I saw so many ads for electric vehicles. It made me wonder about, are gas stations going to start disappearing? If everybody's buying electric vehicles, I mean, really every electric vehicle.
Not anytime soon. It'll be
anytime soon. Yeah. Just if these little stations in the middle of nowhere, it's going to be enough to run them out of business. And we poor RVers, we've all seen in the last 10, 15 years. But just a thought.
Okay. Well, something to think about. But again, I actually have seen numbers on how all this works. So I should do a podcast or something about that sometime.
Okay. All right. Just a thought.
Okay.
Mike, you need to have our program here.
Michael Bracewell makes the most phenomenal upgrade and repair videos. Michael Bracewell, the travel trailer guy, just a super guy. I've camped with him a few times. His mods and upgrades are genius level. So look up, to the listeners here, look up Michael Bracewell, the travel trailer guy, on YouTube. Great videos. And just a neat guy.
We should be embedding some of those.
Yes, we should. Yeah.
Michael, write to me at chuck@rvtravel.com and tell me where to find you otherwise. And hey, if you got some good information, we'd love to pass it along to our readers. So
it's
absolutely.
He's terrific. The videos it's very thorough. Michael is he's a great guy.
Well, good. We like having great guys. So that's the travel trailer guy, huh? Is that it?
There it is. He just sent a link to his videos. Yeah. And I have his contact info if you want it, Chuck. He's, as I said, can't say enough about him.
YouTube, Michael. Oh, that's a long. Better send that to me, Michael. Well, I'll do a screenshot.
That's right there. Yeah, you should be able to scrape it right out of your thread.
Watch this.
Yeah,
I'll text it to you, Chuck.
Okay, good.
All right, guys.
All right,
well, I'm happy to be on board for the afternoon.
Yeah. I just wonder, we had about 30 people on at once. Just seems to me that that I'm not real happy with, I have a little crowd because we always get information.
All right. Well, I better jump, but so I got more outside stuff to do while it's nice. But
okay.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for showing up.
I'm gonna head out too, and it was a real pleasure seeing everybody.
All right, Dave, Tony, Chuck.
Seeing you, Mike, Tony.
See ya.
Chuck.
You too. Take care.
Okay.
Specialists. Sorry, Dustin could some real problems today. California. I will tell you that any of you that are headed north or south on so thank you very much, and tell your friends if you got any thoughts about a better time for this show. This email. So thanks, and see you next week.